You are sitting alone in a park one afternoon when a woman takes the empty seat beside you. At first, nothing seems unusual. She smiles and introduces herself, but almost immediately you notice something strange. Her hair is completely silver, and her eyes are different colors. One is bright green, the other is deep blue. You assume she is wearing contact lenses, but she tells you she has looked that way her entire life. As the conversation continues, things become even stranger. She explains that sounds have colors. Music appears as waves of light. Voices create different shades floating through the air. A barking dog looks yellow. Rain sounds blue. You think she is joking, but she isn't. A few minutes later, you discover that she belongs to one of the rarest populations on Earth. And suddenly a question enters your mind. Out of the 8 billion people alive today, what would the rarest possible human actually look like? To answer that question, we need to build that person one trait at a time, starting with where they come from. To begin building the rarest person imaginable, we first need to decide where they come from. There are thousands of ethnic groups spread across the planet. Most people belong to groups that number in the millions, or even hundreds of millions. Some populations are so large that entire countries share the same ancestry. But our goal is not to find someone common. We are searching for someone almost impossible. So we move to the opposite end of the scale. Scattered across remote islands, dense forests, deserts, and mountain ranges are communities so small that many people have never even heard their names. Some have only a few hundred members. Others have fewer than 100. In some cases, their entire population could fit inside a single school building. Let's imagine our person belongs to one of these tiny groups. Out of 8 billion people alive today, only about 500 share their ancestry. That means just finding someone from this population would already be incredibly unlikely. If you randomly selected a person from Earth, the chance of getting someone from such a group would be roughly 1 in 16 million. And we're only getting started. At this point, our rarest person is not special because of their appearance, intelligence, or abilities. Their rarity comes from a single detail, where their family line began. Now it's time to make them even rarer. Our rarest person is already difficult to find. Out of billions of people, only a few hundred share their ancestry. But ancestry alone is not enough. To make this person even rarer, we need another uncommon trait. One of the most recognizable genetic conditions in the world is albinism. People with albinism are born with very little or no melanin, the pigment responsible for coloring skin, hair, and eyes. As a result, their appearance often stands out immediately. In some regions, albinism is extremely uncommon. In others, it is slightly more frequent, but still rare compared to the general population. Imagine taking our tiny group of only 500 people and searching for someone with albinism. Suddenly, the number shrinks again. Most people disappear from the list. Only a handful remain. Now we are no longer looking for someone rare because of where they come from. We are looking for someone rare because two unlikely characteristics have appeared together. And every time we add another layer, the search becomes harder. The pool becomes smaller, the odds become lower, and the rarest person on Earth begins to take shape. But our search is far from over. Finding someone with a rare ancestry and an uncommon genetic condition is already difficult, but rarity alone is not enough. There is another trait that can make a person stand out even more. It's called heterochromia. This is when a person's eyes are two different colors. One eye might be blue, while the other is green, hazel, or even brown. Most people never meet someone with heterochromia in their entire lives. In many places, it is considered unusual enough to immediately catch attention. Now imagine adding this trait to our already tiny group. First, we searched among billions. Then we narrowed the list to a few hundred. Then we looked for someone with albinism. And now, we are searching for someone who also has two different colored eyes. Once again, the numbers begin to fall. The group becomes smaller. The search becomes harder. The odds become more unbelievable. At this point, we are no longer talking about a person who is simply uncommon. We are creating a combination so rare that almost nobody on Earth shares it. And yet, we're still not finished, because there are even more extraordinary traits waiting to be added to our search. But our rarest person still needs another layer. This time, the trait is not about appearance. It is about how the brain and body work together. Most people on Earth are right-handed. They write, eat, throw, and use tools mainly with their right hand. Left-handed people are much less common. And what makes this trait interesting is that it is not controlled by one simple switch. Genetics play a role, but they do not decide everything. Even identical twins can have different dominant hands. The brain, the body, and development all seem to work together in complicated ways. In some cultures, left-handed children were even taught to use their right hand instead, which makes the true number harder to measure. But even with a generous estimate, left-handed people are still a clear minority. So now we add one more condition to our person: rare ancestry, albinism, 2 different colored eyes, and left-handedness. Each new trait makes the group smaller. Each step removes more people from the search. And now our rarest human is becoming almost impossible to find. But even now, our search is not over. There is one more trait that makes our rare person even harder to find. Most people see the world using 3 types of color receptors in their eyes. Together, they allow us to see millions of colors. But a tiny number of people may have a 4th type of color receptor. This condition is called tetrachromacy. Scientists believe that some tetrachromats can distinguish shades of color that look completely identical to everyone else. Imagine looking at a rainbow and seeing thousands of colors where other people see only a few hundred. Now add this trait to everything we already have: rare ancestry, albinism, 2 different colored eyes, left-handedness, and now tetrachromacy. The search becomes almost impossible. The number of candidates shrinks once again. Across billions of people, only a handful could match every requirement. And somewhere among them is the rarest person we have been searching for all along.